Yeah, welcome to part 3. This video is mainly the bridle track, which we rode down to Hill End and stopped and supported the local pub there. Met a few other riders, including a couple that had just come up on a 990 and an 850 GSA, and they were looking pretty sweaty and in more need of a drink than us, and told us that they'd just come up from Bathurst and had taken about an hour and a half to do the dirt section. So Neil and I were headed to Bathurst, and so we went down the bridle track, which, as you can see, goes down to a creek area down the bottom, which I've got on there now just to show you what the bottom area of the track is like. And I guess because of the heat and the dry weather, a lot of people had not gone in there and camped in there like they normally would, like pretty much everywhere else that we've been on this trip. So we scooted in and had a look around, and this is just me down the bottom looking around waiting for Neil. I saw the big three, mate. Deer, goat, and roos.
Saw a deer?
2 lots of deer with little fawns.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. So as you can see, there are camping areas there. It's inside a national park road, and from this point on, the track actually said that it was only open for serious 4-wheel drives, and yeah, you could see by the vehicles that were there, you know, anyone who'd come in, particularly with a trailer or camping caravan fold-out thing, they would have had to go back out the way that we came in. You wouldn't be able to get out down the bottom. But this was obviously a pretty popular area with the 4-wheel drive guys and stuff, so I was just having a look around in the area just to get the lay of the land, and actually rode back and went to the creek to wait for Neil. As you can see, it's a pretty narrow, steep, rocky drop-off kind of road, and fairly loose surface, not helped by being dry for so long, so lots of the rocks and stuff were loose. And I really take my hat off to Neil for doing all this on his GSA, which unlike the 790 just doesn't have a lot of room for error. You know, you've got to be pretty precise, plant it exactly where you want it to go, and you know, be careful with it, whereas on the 790 you can sort of explore and let the bike roll down stuff and collect it up at the other end, and it's a little bit more like a trail bike like that, even with the 30 or 32 kilos worth of gear that I had strapped on it. So you can still have a bit of fun. Always a bit of a compromise with the tyres to as to what tyre pressure. You know, I run high 20s in the front and 31 or 2 in the rear. On the I had the Tractionator Rel Z on the back and the Michelin Star Cross 5 hard on the front. And wasn't a bad combo, lasted about 3,000 kilometres, and that was about maybe 1,000 k's less than I would have ideally hoped to get out of that combo. But you can't let the tyre pressure down too low either, and go thinking you're on a trail bike. You're still on a bigger bike. But it did it pretty well. Neil actually had the front tyre that I usually have on, the Pirelli Desert Rally tubed tyre, and I had front tyre envy pretty much the whole ride actually. But you could tell it was set up for having lots of visitors, but in this dry season, we only passed a couple of other people down there, and really not much else going on. So we had a look around and scooted along the track. As I mentioned in the comments there, talking with Neil, I saw deer, goats and kangaroos. So there was still lots to look at, and I haven't seen that many deer before in an area. I think I saw 6 or 7, two deer with their fawns, and quite cool to see. But not a lot of other people there, and you just had to be careful to make sure you were keeping to your side of the track and weren't going to put anyone else in a position where they had to take evasive manoeuvres, because there just wasn't a lot of room. Oh, there's one. So So down the bottom end, the track actually opens up a little bit, and you start getting out towards some properties that are look like they're operational farms, and it's a little bit smoother and easier, just winding through this valley. But you still got to make sure you're not scooting along too fast. You don't want to cause a drama for someone else. I think we passed maybe 2 vehicles on there, and from there we scooted into Bathurst to stay the night, and it was after a night of camping, it was a real relief to actually, for the only time on the trip, get proper rooms with air conditioning and showers, and we made good use of the showers and facilities there. And when we went for dinner, we actually had our stuff that we'd washed hanging out on the balcony, and I'm sure we didn't improve the real estate values of the place, but after 3 or 4 days on the road, your junk's all pretty dirty and dusty, and I washed the helmet out. The Nisha was a nice light carbon fibre adventure helmet, and it's got a real quick dry liner, so you can wash it and it dries itself in one night real easy. So just a good chance to freshen everything up and start the next day with a fresh set of gear. So I know this trip's not very exciting. It didn't end up being quite what we intended it to be either, but with the temperature being what it is, the fires being what they are, and everything else, I think we were just lucky to get out and have a bit of a ride around and have as much of an adventure as we did, actually. And it's always good to get out and have a look around and familiarise yourself with places. And this was one of those tracks that I'd heard of before but never gone to. And this trip was a little bit that way. We actually get to do a couple of things that I've wanted to do before but haven't been able to for various reasons, which will come up on the next episode, which will probably be the last one for this trip. And I knew that waiting for us at the end of this was unless Bathurst was sold out, was a nice hotel room. So I was really looking forward at this stage to getting off the track and getting a little bit of comfort. So that's it for this one, and I'll just leave a brief glimpse of the map and call it quits for this one and catch up on the next one. Cheers. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe and like if you haven't already. Cheers.